Uy! Ang bata! Nahulog! Ang puso ni Bestie naalog!
My Love Will Make You Disappear is a 2025 Philippine romantic comedy film directed by Chad V. Vidanes from a story by Prime Cruz and a screenplay by Valencia and Isabella Policarpio. It stars Chiu and Paulo Avelino in their first film project. The film revolves around the romance between a woman believing she is cursed to make her loved ones disappear and her heartbroken landlord who wants to disappear. Produced and distributed by Star Cinema, the film was theatrically released in the Philippines on March 26, 2025. All right, let's talk about My Love Will Make You Disappear starring Chiu and Paulo Avelino. I didn't like it, because liking it is an understatement. I love it. Honestly, I walked in expecting the usual rom-com fluff, you know, the kind you half-watch while scrolling on your phone. But nope, this one actually held my attention. And that's saying something because I've seen my fair share of predictable plots. Look, I know this film got pushed back and yeah, I was worried the demand might have died down. But honestly, it was worth every minute of the wait. First off, the movie is about Chiu, a woman who believes she is cursed, as every man she falls in love with mysteriously disappears, and Jolo, Paulo Avelino, a troubled landlord dealing with a failing apartment complex and financial difficulties. The film's core conflict arises when their paths cross as they work to prevent the displacement of their community. As Sari and Jolo grow closer, Sari's fear of her curse threatens their budding romance. It was an enjoyable film. There wasn't a single dull moment. Seriously, the pacing was spot on. I was very happy with Melai's narration already, so I know I am off to a good start. They knew exactly when to throw in a laugh, a tear, or a good dose of killing. And speaking of killing, it wasn't the cheesy, over-the-top kind. It felt real, like you were watching two people genuinely connect. And the sexual tension is undeniable. It was a mature kind of plot giving realistic vibe from within. Okay, so that killing they were going for. It wasn't the usual cringy stuff. It felt honest, like you were peeking in on two people actually hitting it off, you know, and Paulo Avelino's smile? Dude. Seriously, it's like a shot of pure happiness. Every time he grinned, the whole room just got brighter. He's got this natural thing, this I'm having a good time and so are you vibe that's totally magnetic. I want more screen to me. I want more of this abs. Abs? Yes, I want to count them LOL. Kim, though, she just nails the drama. Like you feel what her character's feeling. It wasn't just acting, it was like she was living it. You weren't watching a performance, you were watching a person go through it. I have seen a lot of Chiu's movie from different love team, and what I can say is that she gets comfortable with how she delivers emotional scenes. I guess I have memorized her variations. Look, yeah, the story's simple. But come on, love stories are timeless for a reason, right? They did something with it, though. They made it feel new, and that's down to the way Kim and Paulo clicked. Their chemistry just jumped off the screen, and that never-ending kiss at the end was magical. Kimberly. And can I say I got that big smile when a cameo from one of my favorite PBB love teams appeared. Yes, JM and Fyong in the house looking all lovely. When Sari, Chiu, was a little girl, she was a happy and fearless child. However, one day, she met an ugly witch who told her that all the men who would fall in love with her will disappear. Since then, she considered herself cursed, especially when the boys she had a crush on all vanished from her life. Even her favorite actor went missing when she planted a kiss on his image on her television. She has resigned herself to being single for life. After his abruptly aborted wedding, Jolo, Paulo Avelino, was on the run from gangster loan sharks boss Pollo, Bernard Palanca, and Madame Tala, Rufa Mi Quinto. He went to hide out in a compound which he inherited from his grandmother called Tahanan Homes, which was coincidentally also where Sari lived. When he learned about Sari's curse, Jolo had the crazy idea of making Sari fall in love with him, so he could just disappear. This romance comedy drama film reunites Chiu and Paulo Avelino with director Chad Vidanes, who also directed the Philippine adaptation of K-drama, What's Wrong with Secretary Kim?, where their Kim Pao love team bloomed. The romantic chemistry between the two leads was very easy and relaxed. They were clearly comfortable working with each other, as the film went from scenes of slapstick comedy to emotional drama and vice versa. That the basic premise of the film was based on a so-called curse did make the film feel quite whimsical. However, Chiu was able to make us empathize with her Sari, who had long been socially crippled by cruel words. She maintained her good nature, even as her being single had long been a joking matter with her friends. Chiu carried over the goodwill of her public persona to make Sari likable, even if she tended to overdo her sweetness. Paulo Avelino had a tougher time making his character Jolo likable. He started out as some sort of a walking red flag with his selfish personality and shady backstory. He had wanted to sell Tahanan Homes in order to get him out of a huge debt. His initial reason for courting Sari was to use her curse to solve his problem. Of course, this was a rom-com and Jolo just so happened to possess Avelino's natural charm, so everything gets smoothed out in the end. To add to the fun and the chaos, Sari had a host of friends at work, Frenchie Dye, Charm Aranton. And at home, Pee-wee O'Hara, Wilma Doesn't, Nico Antonio, Lovely Abela Manilo, Benj Manilo, Miggs Almendras, Martin Escudero. Sari had a pet hamster named Cookie, voiced by Meli Cantaveros, who served as the narrator. There were also cameo appearances by Piolo Pascual and PBB alumni Ashley Sophia, Fyong, Smith, and J.M. Ibarra. I had reservations about certain scenes of a sensitive nature. Sari's accidentally pregnant teen sister, Karina Bautista, was very rude to Sari, as if her condition was something to be proud of. Also, Jolo seemingly took advantage of Sari's vulnerability on the day she finally gave in for her first kiss. Having that sweet moment go all the way to a romp in the bedroom on that very same night did not feel right. Sadly, this made Sari look too impulsive and desperate. When every man she falls in love with magically disappears from her life, just as she is about to get serious, Sari, Chiu, feels cursed. Even the Filipino actor she has a crush on vanishes into thin air when she literally just blows him a flying kiss. But one fine day, as she ponders over her life at the picturesque Jones Bridge in Manila, she runs into Jolo Paulo Avelino, who is escaping his own nuptials. She instantly finds herself drawn to him. However, it's not a typical meet cute, as there is no promise of any lingering future when he basically just keeps running. But fate would have it otherwise, as their paths cross once again in Tahanan Homes, the housing complex she resides in him with the motive to sell off the housing community to pay off his debtors, her with the intention of saving the complex. As Sari falls in love with her landlord, the tables turn with the threat of displacement looming over them, as well as the possible reactivation of the curse associated with her. Will he disappear if she decides to act on her affection? Will she and her friends at the residence end up losing their humble abode? Filipino stars Chiu and Paulo Avelino have an odd chemistry that just works well. As Chiu herself mentioned during her interview with us, they are opposites, but in sync, and that just clicks. Avelino has a seasoned, relatively stoic persona which is in stark contrast to Chiu's bubbly, charming personality. But together, they are able to create a promising love team. Additionally, the Jones Bridge backdrop is a stunning complement for encapsulating the dramatic and cinematic essence. Of course, the star of the show is the adorable Cookie, Sari's pet guinea pig, who is wise beyond her years and enables the lifting of Sari's love enchantment. My Love Will Make You Disappear stars Chiu and Paulo Avelino and is directed by Chad V. Vidanes from a screenplay by Valencia and Isabella Policarpio. This film tells the story of Sari Chiu, a young woman who believes she has been cursed since childhood and is doomed to be single all her life. A sweet introduction to the film shows Sari as a child and her story of fighting off the monster in her life, not necessarily under the bed, as we often hear of children claiming there are monsters in their room. It is not until later in the film that this comes back as part of the narrative, expanding on how defending herself from the monster impacted her all her life. The film is described as a romance/comedy, but the comedy is light, and there are a couple of themes that are incorporated into her story, unfortunately experienced by too many women around the world. I think the screenwriters did an outstanding job of including this and its impact on a child, becoming a part of the trauma carried into adulthood. Sari Chiu believes she is cursed, as every man she falls in love with disappears, and she has resigned herself to being single. Jolo, Paulo Avelino, is the grandson of the owner of the housing community where Sari lives and has been estranged from them. He is in financial debt with the gangster type who will come to collect using violence as they deem necessary. Upon his grandmother's passing, he inherits the property. His first thought is to sell and leave. The residents don't want to leave, thus a conflict arises, and they vote for her to tackle the issues with Jojo, the landlord. However hesitant she is not on board for the displacement of their community. Sari and Jolo learn more about each other and grow closer, yet Sari's fear of the curse remains. The on-screen chemistry between the two protagonists is great. Kim is excellent when she portrays the complete joy and the drama that follows her around to bring her spirits back down. It feels authentic when she is in fear every time there is a severe thunderstorm and the fear of letting go of her emotions to show Jojo how much she is attracted to him. Paulo Avelino has a good range of acting talent when he displays the challenged entrepreneur and then changes to allow him to understand himself and those around him better. When you're cursed to lose anyone you love, life can get pretty depressing, right? The latest Philippine rom-com on Netflix, My Love Will Make You Disappear, dives headfirst into exactly that bittersweet concept. Blending heartache with humor, it tells the story of loving against impossible odds and finding hope in the most unexpected places. Like most contemporary rom-coms, it isn't exactly groundbreaking if that's what you're after, but for fans of the genre, it's perfectly suitable for a Saturday night watch, offering a comforting dose of rainbows and sunshine. Sari is a cheerful little girl with a guinea pig named Cookie, and nothing seemed wrong in her life until her parents' marriage fell apart. Her mother blames Sari for everything, and little Sari begins to imagine her as a demon who curses her own daughter to be forever alone as punishment for her broken marriage. Sari grows up, and every boy she ever liked and kissed somehow disappears from her life. As if that wasn't horrible enough, even the movie star she really liked, and once shyly kissed through the screen, vanishes without a trace. So after 25 years of misery, Sari decides to make peace with the fact that she's going to spend her life by herself. She lives in a society called Tahanan Homes, where the owner, Grandma Ramai, adores Sari and treats her as her own daughter. Grandma Ramai is fiercely protective of the residents in the society, refusing to sell the place, even as buyers line up, eager to drive them out. But one day, she suddenly dies of a heart attack, and the ownership is passed on to Jolo, her grandson. Grandma Ramai always wished that Sari and Jolo would meet, and that's exactly what happens after her passing. Jolo is a strikingly handsome guy who seems cursed by the universe in a different way as well. He owns a nightclub, but he's sinking under the weight of debts owed to loan sharks. To make matters worse, his would-be bride had abandoned him at the altar, and the humiliating video has since gone viral on social media. Jolo's relationship with his father, Jonathan, is also not very pleasant, and he finds himself all alone in life, just like Sari. Call it fate or the universe's strange plan, but it's Sari who finds and stops Jolo from throwing himself into the river and killing himself. However, When Jolo finds out about his inheritance, he immediately decides that he'd sell it to pay off his debts and make his life a little easier. When the people of Tahanan get to know about his intentions, they bestow the responsibility on Sari to try and change his mind. After a few initial hiccups and terrible attempts by Sari to convince Jolo to not sell, their dynamics flip upside down thanks to one incident. Jolo gets jumped by loan sharks right inside his own nightclub, but somehow manages to slip away and save his skin. When he returns to Tahanan in a fit of rage, the warm and gentle residents don't confront him. Instead, they simply invite him to share a meal with them. That's when Jolo finds out about Sari's curse, and he decides to court her, hoping that he'd disappear like the rest of her lovers, and so would his problems. So Jolo tries to seduce Sari, mere days after he insulted her for being intrusive and insensitive. Sari is justifiably worried about his intentions, and she tries her best to avoid his advances. But then it turns into Jolo following her everywhere, and ultimately, on a rainy night, the magic happens. Sari chases after her guinea pig, Cookie, who slipped out of his cage. But as thunder rumbles and the rain pours down in full force, she's left shivering and terrified. Jolo comes swooping in to save the day, managing to rescue Cookie from a pipe. But when his hand gets cut in the process and he catches sight of the blood, he panics and faints on the spot. Sari takes him into her apartment, and Jolo finally opens up about how lonely and humiliated he truly feels, and both of them connect over the fact that they feel sort of abandoned when it comes to love. But that hasn't made them feel like they shouldn't pursue the feeling, and that's what becomes the foundation of their dynamic. After the initial icebreaker, Jolo really gets his act together, and he helps the residents to fix the buildings, which have been deteriorating for quite some time. And just when things finally seem to be going right for Sari, her flatmate, who's practically like a sister, decides to move out with her boyfriend. Why? Well, she's pregnant. Sari isn't okay with it at all and lashes out at the couple, and honestly, who can blame her? They're both still in school, and with no real plan for who's going to put food on the table. Having a baby doesn't exactly sound like the best idea, does it? But Laika feels betrayed by Sari's behavior, and she reminds her that Sari might be lashing out because she can never have a life or children of her own, and she needs to cling to others to keep going. Sari decides to drown her sorrows the adult way with a bit of liquor. And once again, it's Jolo who ends up looking after her. It makes for a pretty cute scene thanks to how it's shot and acted. The next day, it's Sari's 25th birthday, and Jolo takes her out on a date and tells her to imagine she's on her dream vacation to Korea, and they eat, dance, and have a great time together. But when they're about to kiss, Sari feels this fairy tale would come crashing down, and she runs away in embarrassment and fear. But by now, Jolo has actually fallen for her, and he reassures her that it's her who gives meaning to his life, and they kiss, and nothing terrible happens. Now you might be wondering if the curse was ever real. Well, after they finally sleep together, it can promptly be confirmed that it wasn't. It was merely the result of her awful luck all along. The night that changed Sari's life, when she finally felt normal and stopped fearing her lover would disappear into thin air, just so happens to be the same night the loan sharks track Jolo down to Tahanan. The next morning, Sari wakes up happy, but her smile soon fades when she doesn't find Jolo by her side. Jolo is off to see the attorney, who tells him that if he decides to sell Tahanan, he'd be able to pay off his debts and still have a good amount of cash left for himself. While this meeting is taking place, the loan shark, Pollo, with his goons, vandalizes the society. When Jolo comes back, everybody thinks that he's sold the property, even though he tells them that he hasn't. Sari is disappointed in him too, and Jolo stands alone again with his friends and lover turning their backs on him. The next morning, Pollo and his goons show up again, but this time, the people of Tahanan grab whatever they have to fight the bad boys. Jolo joins in too, and when Pollo finds that his people are getting beaten up, he attempts to stab Sari, knowing fully well that nothing will hurt Jolo more than that. But Jolo jumps in front of her and risks his own life to save her, and the cops arrive to arrest Pollo and his men. Sari is devastated, thinking that Jolo is going to die. She prays to the Lord and vows to confess her love to him if he survives. Miraculously, the dark clouds part, the thunderous rain ceases, and sunlight breaks through the sky. And just like that, Sari finally gets to live with the love of her life, a love that feels like the happy ending she's always dared to dream of.